Morning.
Okay. Good morning. I think I see Ms. Thompson and Mr. Butler. Are you there? Or am I muted?
Morning.
Oh, morning, sir. Okay. Ms. Thompson, are you there?
Good morning. Yes, I'm here.
Good morning. Okay. All right. Okay, I see Miss Bain. Okay. Good morning, Miss Bain.
Good morning.
Okay. All right. I just given another 5 minutes. So around 9:10. We can start. Let's give it another 5 minutes for the other persons. And then we can begin. Okay. Good morning again, and welcome to our last class. Time has flown. I see we have just about everybody here. Let me see. Miss Heald, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Oh, you are. Okay, good morning. Miss
Morning.
Knowles?
Morning.
Okay, good morning. All right, I already spoke to Miss Bain. Who else we have here? Miss Thompson. Okay, I think I spoke with her already, Mr. Butler. So we are still have one person missing. Let me see, Mr. Roll. I don't see her. All right, but we're gonna begin. As you well, you're all aware, this is our last class today. Next week, Saturday, is your final exam. So we want to today finish off the last chapter. A good portion of this chapter should be a review, I think. So we will spend some of the time looking at the topics or the content for this chapter. And then we will look at something that I posted in terms of review. I'm not going to really review per se, but I'll just give you the listing of topics. And then we'll look at the second midterm test that you did. And we could discuss for those persons who want to do makeup, what the procedure is going to be for that. All right. So last class we met, we
Sorry, Mr. Allen.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you send the grade for the second midterm?
Yeah, I already put that in the grade sheet. Yeah, I put it in this morning, early this morning. So
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So for today, we are looking at some basics of statistics, and so we're going to start off with some terms which I'm sure you all should be familiar with, although you might not have used all of them recently. But from your book on page 530, they have some definitions of terms that we'll be using for statistics. And these three terms here are what we generally refer to as measures of central tendency. And basically what that is saying is that when you have a group of data or set of data, oftentimes numbers, you're trying to find a way to represent the whole group. So instead of having to list out all of the data, we have measures that we use to find a value to represent the group. We often use the term average. Now, most times when we use the term average, I think most people think of this word here, mean. Okay? The mean, it says here, is the average used to indicate a single value that represents an entire group of numbers. But the thing about that definition is that it also could apply to the median or the mode. all three, mean, mode, and median, are different ways of finding a single value to represent a group. But the way they are calculated is different. Okay, so most of us will probably be familiar with the mean, where we add all the numbers and divide by the amount of numbers. So in this particular example, we have the sales for a business, the average daily sales for a business. We have the individual sales for each day, Sunday 400, Monday 100, and so on. And so in order to find the mean, they added up all the amounts for the week. And since there were 7 items here, you divide by 7, and you got your mean to be $150.14. So your mean is equal to the sum of all your values divided by the number of values. Okay. Now, the other form of average or measure of central tendency that we have is the median. And the median is the word median, if you look that up, it means middle. So it's your middle value. So you can't just take the middle value from a set, you first have to put them in order. So you'll see in this first example that they have here, you have some numbers, 42, 35, 87, 23, and 50. And you're asked to find the median, and these are ages of persons. So before you can find the median, you have to put them in order, and putting them in order, then you can identify the one in the middle. So in this case, the middle one is 42. So the median age in this case is 42. In the second example in the yellow circle, you have 4 numbers instead of 5. So they ask you to find the median age. Now, if you put these numbers in order, you will see that we don't have one number in the middle, but we have 2 numbers in the middle, 42 and 50. So because we have an even set of numbers, anytime you have an even set of numbers, you're going to have 2 numbers in the middle. And so because we have 2 numbers in the middle, we have to add those 2 and divide by 2 to find the median. So we're going to have to find the average or the mean of the middle 2 numbers. And so in this case, it's 46. So your median is your middle number after you arrange them in order. Anybody could say, why do we have to arrange these numbers in order to find the median? Why do we have to arrange the numbers in order to find the median? Ms. Hill, can you figure that out? Let me hear from you. Why do we have to put the numbers in order to find the median? Ms. Hill, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, are you able to guess why you have to put them in order?
I am guessing the numbers have to be in order to indicate the center, like what is in the middle.
Okay. So if I didn't put that first set of numbers in order, what would be in the middle?
The 87.
Right. So if somebody else decided to write that number in a different arrangement, you would have another number in the middle. So the only way to make sure that we always have the same number in the middle, we have to keep a certain order to the numbers. And so we have to put the numbers in order, either from smallest to largest or largest to smallest. But if we just write the numbers in whichever order we want, then the middle number could vary. So any of those 5 numbers could be the median if we didn't put them in a particular order. So the only way to make sure that our number, everybody gets the same median, we have to arrange them in order. Once we arrange them in order, anybody trying to find the median will all get the same result. Okay, so we can't just look at a group of number and just identify a middle number without first arranging them in order. Okay, so we have to ensure that they're in order first. Okay, so we'll move on now to the next one, which is the mode. So the mode is another way of trying to find a single number to represent a group, or what we call a measure of central tendency, or some people just say an average. So the mode is the value that occurs most often. Okay, now in some cases, you may have more than one number that occurs most often. So you may have more than one mode. Okay, and then it says here, if all the values are different, then there is no mode. So if you have no number that repeats, then there is no mode. So if you look at this set of numbers that's given to you in the green shaded area there, they don't have them in any order, but if you look at them closely, you can put them in order. If you put them in order, you'll be more easily able to identify which number occurs most frequently. But if you look at them closely, you will see that there are more 3s than any other numbers there. You have a couple of, what other numbers we have more than one of? We have 2 5s. I think that's it. But we have 4 3s. So we say that 3 is the mode because we have more 3s than any other of the numbers that appear on the list. So the mode is the one that occurs most frequently. Okay, so each of those, the mean, the mode, the median, are forms of finding a value to represent a group. And mode is the one that occurs most often. Now, the thing is, many of us remember each of these, but we sometimes get them mixed up. Mean, we have to remember, is the sum of all the values divided by the number of values. Median, remember the word median means middle of the road, median. So it's middle after you put them in order. And then the mode is most often. Okay, so we just need to remember the difference between those 3. And before we move on, I want you to do these 6 questions here. The first 2 is asking to find the mean, next 2 the median, next 2 the mode. I'll give you a few minutes to work those. Okay. I'm gonna call on some persons now to tell me what they got. Miss Bain, what you got for the first one?
I got 7.5.
Okay, thank you. Bain. Miss Thompson, what you got for the second one, please?
For the second one, I got 14.
14, thank you. All right, Miss Knowles, what about the third one? Miss Knowles, are you there?
Hello?
Yes, what you got for the third one? 22-7.
I don't know if it's like 31.5.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Miss Hill, what you got for the fourth one?
Sorry, Mr. Allen. I stepped
Mhm.
away for a moment. I
The
calculated
fo-
that one yet.
Okay, tell me what you need to do though.
Okay. I need to add and then divide.
No, we're looking at 22-8. It says find the median. That's the fourth
Okay.
one.
Okay, I need to put the numbers in order, in number
Mhm,
order.
mhm.
So that's 15, 31, 62, 103. So put it in order.
Mhm.
So the middle of that would be 82.
Okay, thank you. All right, so that's that. Mr. Butler, what you got for the next two?
8 and 18.
8 for 22-9. Okay. And 18 for 22-10. Okay. Okay. Right. Okay. So that's a quick review then of what we looked at so far. So you should be able to find mean, mode, median. All right. Just have to remember the definitions. Mean is the sum of the numbers divided by the amount of numbers. Median is the middle number if you put them in order. Mode is the most frequent number. Okay. So we're going to move on then to a little bit more on this topic or this subject. So of course, in statistics, our primary purpose for statistical data is to sort of organize data and analyze data. And so one of the first steps to analyzing data after we collect the data is to put it in a table form, which we refer to as a frequency distribution table. So in this, on page 533 of your book, they give an example where they collected some information from some students at a college, asking them how much they're willing to spend to set up a computer in their room. And after visiting the dorm, they gathered some information from 20 students. And so you'll see a list of numbers there, $1,000, $7,000, 4,000, and so on. So they have the numbers listed in no particular order. And so when we have data that's arranged in no particular order, we refer to that as raw data. Let me see. Okay, so they have the term there, raw data. And then they have it here again, raw data. Okay. So the raw data is data that's not arranged in any particular order. So we just jot down the information we got. Okay. But for statistical purposes, to analyze data, we need to have it organized in some form. And so one of the easiest, quickest first steps, I guess we could say, to organize data is to put it in a table form. And in this case, we are using what is called a frequency distribution table. Okay. Now with the frequency distribution table, what we normally do is look at the data we have, see what's the lowest, if it's in numbers, which is the highest. So in this table, we have values ranging from 1,000 to 10,000. So you look at the table on the left. So they have 3 columns: price of the computer, a tally, and the frequency. So they start with the lowest number, which is 1,000, and they go all the way up in increments of 1,000 to 10,000. And then they do a tally. So they count, okay, how many times as I go through the list, I put a stroke for each time I see a particular number. So if I, for example, 1,000, each time I see 1,000, I put a stroke. And then once I get to the 5th, so I put 4 strokes. And when I get to the 5th one, I put a stroke across to indicate that's 5. And then if there was a 6th one, then you start another set of strokes until you get to 10, and then you put another stroke across to indicate 10, and so on. All right, so the tally is shown there. And then once you finish doing your tallies, then you put the frequency, which would just actually indicate how many of each of those amounts were in the raw data. So you'll see there then that 5 persons who said they'd spend $1,000, 1 person's 2,000, 5, 3,000, and it goes on and on until we get all the way to 10,000. So that's just a basic way of organizing raw data. So that's something you should be able to do. And once we have the data organized in that form, we can go ahead and do things like find the mean, the mode, and the median from that. So looking at this table, I have the table here in this next slide, the same information. All right. And from that, we should be able to figure out things like mean, mode, and median. Now, what did we say is the mode again? What does the term mode mean?
That's the number that appears the most.
Okay, so right away, that's one of the quickest things you can determine from looking at your frequency table. You can right away see what the mode is. What is the mode in this case? Which numbers occur most frequently? Which prices occur most frequently?
1 and 3,000.
1,000 and 3,000. So in this case, you have 2 modes. Okay, so you could say the mode is equal to $1,000 and also $3,000. Okay, so we have 2 modes in this case. Now, something like the median, what is the median again?
The middle number.
Number. Now, because we have this in a table form, we wouldn't be able to see the middle number right away, but if you wanted to, you could have arranged those 20 numbers in order from the smallest to the largest and find the middle. But because it's 20 numbers, how many numbers are you going to have in the middle?
2.
2. So what position those 2 numbers would be in if you have 20 numbers? If I have 20 numbers, if I put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Which position will the middle numbers be in? We said it's two numbers that will be in the middle because we have 20 numbers. So which position will the two middle numbers be in?
10 and 11.
The 10th and 11th position. So let's check that. If we circle this, let's see how many numbers we have on this side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So if we circle the 10th and 11th position, we'd have 9 numbers on either side of that. Okay? So that would be the position of the two middle numbers. So what we'll do then, if we go on the table, we want to find which two numbers would be in the 10th and 11th position. So if we look here, we have 5 persons who say $1,000 and 1 person who says who would spend 2,000. So how much is that in total so far?
6.
6.
Okay. Then we have another 5 persons who say 3,000. So what position would that be? How far have we gone so far?
11.
11. So right away then, you can say that the 11th position is $3,000. What is the 10th position?
3,000.
3,000.
It would also be 3,000. So your median then is equal then to 3,000 plus 3,000. The two of them are in the middle. Divide by 2, which is equal to, of course, 6,000 over 2, which is equal to 3,000. Okay, so that would be the approach you could use to find the middle number. You just count your frequencies until you get to the middle positions and see which number is in the middle position. In this case, because we have an even set of numbers, it has to be 2 numbers, the 10th and the 11th position. Now, if we had an odd set of numbers, then it would only be 1 number. So whichever number is in that position, you would write down as your median. And so that's your median for that. Now, how do we find the mean? What's the procedure for finding mean again?
Add all.
Add up all the numbers
Okay. Add up all the numbers.
and then divide it by 20.
Okay, so we have 20 numbers in this list. So if you were to add up the frequencies, 5 plus 1 is 6, 6 and 5, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So you have 20 numbers. So the frequency is 20. But now if you want to find the sum of the numbers, we could go to the list and add them up. Like here, 1,000 plus 7,000 plus 4,000 plus 1,000. But since we have them in a table, we have 5,000. So how much would that end up being?
5,000.
Okay, so 5 times 1,000 is 5,000. So you could do that. Then 1 times 2,000 is 2,000.
1,000.
And 5 times 3,000 is
15.
15,000. Okay. Then 1 times that is 4. So 1 times 4,000 is 4,000. 2 times 5,000 is
10,000.
10,000. Then 2 times that would be what, 12,000. Then the
7,
ratio
9,
is
10.
1,000, 8,000, 9,000, and 10,000. So in that case, then we are we multiply. We could call this extension if you want to call it extension. So basically, what we're doing, we are multiplying the price of the computer by the frequency to find out what the total for that amount would be, and we should have each of them. So that's 5, 1 times that, 5 times that, 1 time. Okay. And so we're going to find the sum of this column here, the sum of the extension column. Anybody work that out? That's the sum of the extension column.
I got 82,000.
Okay, I hear 82. That's 2, so we're going to put 82. So if you want to find the mean, then it'll be equal to 82,000. Once you add it right, divide by the 20 persons.
4,100.
Oops. Equals $4,100. Okay, so your mean price there would be 4,100. So if you have the data in a table form to find the mean, you would first find the extension for each of the items by multiplying the frequency times the amount for each item on your table. Find the sum of that and divide by the sum of the frequency to find your mean, which is the same as adding up all the values and divide by the number. It's just that because we have it in a table, it probably would be quicker to do it in this form than to actually count out all the numbers, especially if you have a large subset, because we only have 20 here, but you could have 50 numbers to deal with. Okay, so in table form, you could work out your mean in this manner. All right, so I'm going to ask you to look at this table here. It says the following data represents the number of containers of yogurt members of a local health club consume in a month. Okay, so how many numbers are we looking at in this table? Sorry, in this raw data.
30.
30 numbers. Okay, what's the smallest number there?
12.
12.
12.
Okay, so we start with 12. And we're going to go, the highest number is
20.
20. So we're gonna have 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. All right, so before we do anything else, I want you to do the tally for each of those. So let's say we start with 17. 17 is the first number, so you're gonna go here and put a stroke. Then you're gonna, there's another 17 here again, cross it out. There's a 16, go here, you put a tally for 16. 13, you do that. 19, 18, 15, 15 again, 12, 18. So I did the first row. I want you to do the complete the other 2 rows. Give you 2 minutes. Complete the other 2 rows, and I'm going to ask you to tell me what you get. Okay, should be a bit through with that. Ms. Knowles, you want to tell me what you got?
For the frequency,
Yes.
3, 2, 1, 3, 4, 5, 7, 3, 2.
Okay. All right. Okay. Very good. Okay, so that's it there. Your tallies and your frequency should be completed as you see here. So the person, for 7, you should have 4 strokes with a 1 stroke across to make the 5th one, and then 2 additional strokes. And now you are asked to do the mode, the median, and the mean. So we're going to look at the mode, the median, and then the mean. Okay, so what's the mode? Mr. Butler, tell me what's the mode, please. Mr. Butler, are you there?
Sorry, mic was on mute. The mode is 18.
The mode is 18. Thank you. Okay. So the 18 had the highest frequency. So that would be the mode. All right, let me see. Ms. Bain, what's the median? How can we find the median? How many numbers do we
Median.
have in this list?
You have 9.
No,
Allow you one.
9. We have 9 categories, but
Oh,
the amount of
okay.
numbers is more than 9. To know the amount of numbers, you have to look at the listing that you are given. See this list here? You could do that, or you could add up all the frequencies, and that will tell you
So
how
it's
many numbers you have.
29. 29.
You're off by 1.
I miscount.
You're off by 1. 3 plus
it's
2 is 5. 5 and 1, 6. 6 and 3, 9. 9 and 4, 13. 13 and 5 is 18. 18 and 7 is 25. 25 and 3 is 28. 28 and 2 is
30.
30. Okay. So if you have 30 numbers, Miss Bain, which two numbers, which position should the middle numbers be in? Hmm? Miss Bain, are you there?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure it out now.
Okay. When we had 20 numbers, we said the middle numbers would be the 10th and 11th.
So
But now we have 30
uh,
numbers. Anybody else want to take a guess on that? Where should the middle two numbers be? Because we have an even set of numbers, so we're going to have 2 numbers in the middle. You have 30 numbers on this list. So if you put them in order, you should have 2 numbers in the middle. Which position with
15 and 16.
Is it
the 15th and 16th? Right. Half of 30 is 15. So the 15th and the 16th number would be the 2 middle numbers. So if we count down this list, where will we find the 15th and 16th position? So we could go, we start here is 3. Then 3 plus 2 is 5. Then if you go 5
is it
and
17.
17?
17. Okay, let's see.
Yeah.
All right. So 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 and 3, 9, 9 and 4, 13, 13 and 5 is 18. Okay. So right here, the 15th and 16th number are both going to be 17. Okay. So the median then would be 17 plus 17 over 2. Because we have 2 middle numbers and both of them are going to be 17. So that's going to be 34 over 2, which is equal to 17. All right, very good. Now to find the mean, now we're going to have to do an extension of the table.
Money. You give money.
Mhm.
Your $40 then. And where money and you get me your money?
Hello? Somebody
Come
needs to
in.
mute.
Get him money. I don't have my money on me. I don't know
That's
he's
Ms.
coming today.
Thompson.
Tell me he's coming next week.
Ms. Thompson, Ms. Thompson.
I mean, you're in class right now. Sorry.
Okay, I have to mute her. Okay. All right. Okay. So we're going to do the extension for each of these. So what would be the extension for the first row?
36.
36. All right. So I want you to complete the extension for the other rows and find the sum of all the extension. Give you a couple minutes to do that.
All right, so extensions is just cross multiplying over.
Yeah, you're gonna
Uh,
multiply, in this case, 12 times 3 was 36, so now you're gonna do 13 times 2, which
for
gives you 26, and so on.
36 and 1.
So
Okay.
then when you finish, I want you to find the sum of all the extensions. Okay, so what's the sum of the extensions?
I got 493.
Everybody in agreement with that?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So it means then that the mean is 493 divided by what?
30.
30.
30, okay. So that should be equal to, give it to one decimal place.
16.4.
16.4.
Okay, very good. All right. So I think you get the picture for that. Now I'm going to give you one more. Your exam is next week. We won't have much time to, I'm going to give you homework, but I know most of you don't do the homework and you need the practice, and you definitely need to know how to do this for your exam. So I'm giving you one to do now, which I will give you about no more than 5 minutes to work on. So this next question is something sort of similar. So this is a gym that holds this class twice a week. And then they have the weights of the persons who participate in the class. So I want you to now look at that and tell me how many persons are in this class.
25.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So with 25 persons in the class, is that going to be an even set of numbers or odd set of numbers?
Odd.
Odd. So therefore, your median is going to be one number. It's not going to be two numbers like the others we looked at. All right, what's the lowest weight?
120.
120. Okay. And so if we go down the list, we should have, I think, 130 next, 140, 160, 170, 180. We have a 190. Yes. Do we have any 200s? Don't seem that way. So what I want to do then, do the tally, do the frequency, do the extension. Now up the top here, I put product, but that's the same as the extension. And then you're going to find the mode, the median, and the mean. I'll give you about 5 minutes to do that before we move on. I want to work on that now. Oh, so, sorry, I think I just realized I missed out 150 from the, is there one? Yeah, 150. So I'm gonna have to, 160, 170, 180, 190. Okay, we should be done with that. Um, let me hear from, let me see, Miss Thompson.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. You want to tell me what you got for your frequencies?
That's frequency. I got 2531714
1742.
142.
Okay. Thank you, Miss Thompson. Mr. Butler, what you got for your extensions or your products? Mr. Butler?
122 is 240.
Mm-hmm. Next row.
130 and 5 is 615.
Mm-hmm.
140 and 3 is 420.
Mm-hmm.
150 is 150. 160 and 7 is 1120.
Mm-hmm.
170 is 170. 180 and 4 is 720.
Mm-hmm.
190 and 2 is 360.
Double check that one.
380, my bad.
Okay, thank you. All right. Mr. Butler. Miss Knowles.
Hi.
Okay,
Yeah.
so what's the sum of the products or the sum of the extensions?
3,850.
Or what's the sum of the frequencies?
25.
25. All right, thank you. That was Miss Knowles. Okay. All right, Miss Bain. What is the modal weight?
154.
The mode? The mode is the one
Oh,
that's most frequent.
sorry. I thought you was asking me for the mode was 160.
160. Okay, 160. All right, 160 pounds. All right, that's Miss Bain. Miss Heald. What is the median?
The median is 160.
160?
Yes.
Okay, let me double check that. That's supposed to be what position? What position is the median for 25?
I did 13.
The 13th position? Okay, so
Yeah.
let's see now. 2 and 5 is 7, 7 and 3 is 10, 10 and 1 is 11, 11 and 7 is 18. So the 13th position has to be, yeah, 160. All right, so it's 160 pounds. All right, thank you. And then the last part of that, I asked you for the mean weight. Ms. Bain, I call on you again.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's the mean?
The mean
Mm-hmm.
was 154.
Okay, how did you get that?
The 3,850 divided by 25.
Okay, that gives you 154. Okay, thank you. All right. So right there, what we were doing then, we did up our frequency table. That's something you should be able to do once you get the raw data. So the information up top here is your raw data. You should be able to organize raw data into a frequency table. And once you have data in a frequency table, you should be able to do things like find the mode, the median, and the mean. Okay? So your questions won't necessarily come in this type of form where you just get a few numbers and you have to work out the mean, the mode, and the median. Sometimes it may be a long list of numbers which you have to put in a table, and from the table you should be able to do things like state mean, mode, and median. Okay, so thank you all for that. So we're going to move on. So it was 160, 160, and
Mr. Allen,
question, yes? Go
no,
ahead.
when you've gone over, when you switch screens just now, my audio was glitching, so I couldn't hear what you were saying. I was gonna ask you if you can repeat it, please.
Okay, what I was saying is that what we did in this question is first of all, we organized the raw data into a frequency table. Then once we put the data in the frequency table, we were able to use the data in the frequency table to work out the mode, the median, and the mean. Okay, so that's something that you should be able to do in this topic, in this area. So the data will not always be just 4 or 5 numbers that you're given. Sometimes you might be given 30, 40, 50 numbers. So you should be able to organize in the frequency table, and from the frequency table, you should be able to work out things like mode, mean, and median. Okay. Now,
Okay, thank
aside
you.
from aside from the frequency table, I guess most of you should know that we can organize data into graphical forms. And while the frequency table is helpful, the graphical forms are more visually appealing. So one of the quickest, easiest ways to show data after you put it in the frequency table is to use a bar graph. Okay, and so you see a diagram, and I'm sure you have seen many bar graphs. The bar graph is more visually appealing than a frequency table. You can see some things readily from the bar graph, which you probably wouldn't see as quickly in the frequency table. The frequency table, you can organize your data, but when you put it in a bar graph, some things stand out more easily. Because right now, looking at this bar graph, you could see that there are two items or two prices of computers, which are most popular because the height of the bar are the tallest. Then you could see which one is the least by looking at the lower bars and so on. Okay, so the bar graph is often used once you going straight from a frequency distribution table. It's helpful to show frequency distribution. It's also helpful to show comparison between different categories of things. So we have different types of graphs. We have the bar, we have the line, we have the pie chart, and each of them have their particular areas that they are better at representing data. But once you're dealing strictly with just frequency distributions, then the bar graph is more useful for that type of display. All right. And so for this course, we are not going to actually be drawing bar graphs, but what you should be able to do is read them and see if you can gather the information from them. Now, usually with the bar graph, the frequency would be on your vertical axis, and then the items that we are comparing or looking at would be on your horizontal axis. So in this case, we're looking at the price of computers, and we're looking to see how many times or what is the frequency for each of those price points. And so that's what we are seeing in this particular bar graph. So I'm going to give you a bar graph to look at next, and I have some questions there, and I want you to look at it closely and see if you could answer the questions that follow. So in this bar graph, you have this person who owns a bakery store. So she has two bakery stores, and one in an area called Flushing and another one in an area called Brooklyn. She wants to compare the sales of both of the stores, and she's recording the information in a bar graph. So she have different items there: cupcakes, croissants, cheesecakes, cookies, pies. And so she has a key. So one color represents the sales in Flushing, and another color represents the sales in Brooklyn. Okay, so that's another type of bar graph. You could have a comparison of items. All right, and then on so on the bottom, you have the bakery items, cupcakes, croissants, cheesecakes, cookies, pies, and on the vertical axis, you have the frequency, which is the number of items that was sold. So I want you to just look at that for a couple minutes and answer the 5 questions below, and I'm going to call on you, tell me what you got. Okay, Ms. Thompson, tell me what you got for the first one.
Pies, okay, there were, sorry, I had stepped away, but I can do it. It's 55 pies were sold.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Thompson. 55. All right, Ms. Knowles, what about number 2?
Cupcakes.
Thank you. All right, Ms. Heald, what about number 3?
Number 3, I got 35.
Okay, what number 3 says? How many
How
cheesecakes
many
were
cheesecakes
sold
were sold
by
by both
both the stores?
stores?
78.
Now, you only gave me for one store. They said both the
70.
But
stores.
both stores sell the same amount.
Right.
It should
So,
be,
so what's the total for the 2 stores?
Sorry. 70.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Butler. Number 4.
With the Flushing.
Number 4, Flushing. Okay. Which store sold the least number of croissants? Flushing. Okay. And then the last one, Miss Bain.
Now,
Number
why you do
5.
that?
How many more cookies were sold than cheesecakes at the store in Brooklyn?
Store in Brooklyn. How many more cookies? Okay. 5.
Okay, so how many more cookies were sold than cheesecake at the store in Brooklyn? So we're
Oh,
looking at
cheesecake.
cookie.
Sorry.
Mhm.
Brooklyn. 10.
10, right. Okay, 10. All right, so the bar graphs, they're very useful because they're usually easier to interpret. Okay. The main thing is you have to look at the scale and see how the units are being divided up. So in this particular bar graph, you're going up in units of 10, 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. So if you go halfway, that would be 5 and so on. So sometimes you have to make a good guess as the values in between, but they are, and they're usually very easy to present, and you can readily see trends using your bar graph. And like I said, they're more useful for when you have to do comparisons or show amounts or frequencies of particular items. Now, the next type of graph here is the line graph. And the line graph, what difference you think there's between the line graph compared to the bar graph? Look at this line graph and tell me what would you say a line graph is more useful for? Anybody want to take a guess?
Yes.
Yeah, we can
Go ahead.
assume time.
Say that again.
We can assume they used it to measure time progression.
Right. Very good. Okay. So the line graph is better for showing trends over a period of time. Okay, or the progression of an item or change over time. And so, I mean, you could do it with a bar graph, but it is more is more useful in the sense the line graph kind of shows that trend. Okay, so looking at this particular line graph, you could see where the average cost of college tuition is increasing over time. So they're comparing from 2002 to 2007. And you don't have a column here for frequency as such. With the bar graph, the vertical column is usually the column for frequency. But here, with the line graph, oftentimes your horizontal axis is looking at a time. It doesn't have to be, but oftentimes it's looking at either years, months, hours, or something along that line. And then on the vertical axis, you're looking at the values over the periods of time that is shown on your horizontal axis. Okay, so it's usually fairly easy to read also, but the content usually it is a little different from what you would see represented in the bar graph. But the ease of reading and the viewability of it is basically similar. You could readily see a trend in a line graph. You could more easily see that than just looking at the information in a table. Okay, so I have another one I want you to look at here. This is line graph again, but this time we have two lines in this graph. So unlike the one we looked at, we're looking at years. Now in this line graph, we're looking at certain months. So we are looking at the number of pets sold each month. And we have two different stores here. A store, the one in red is Pet Town, and the one in blue is Animal Avenue. Okay, so we have two stores and we are showing the sales for January, February, March, April, and May. And then on the vertical axis is telling you the number of pets sold. All right, so there are 5 questions. I want you to look at the graph and see if you can answer those 5 questions based on the line graph that's shown. I'll give you a minute or so to answer those, and I'll call on you. Okay, so we'll start with Mr. Butler. What you got for number one? Hello?
I'm here.
Yeah, what you got for the
Um,
first one?
4,
Okay, thank you. Miss Hill, what you got for the next one?
8.
All right, thank you. Miss Knowles, number 3.
Increase.
You said increase.
Yes.
Did the number of pets sold increase or decrease between February and March? February and March for Pet Town. So February was how much?
Oh, decrease. Sorry. February
Okay,
was 6, March was 4.
right. So it decreased. All right. Okay, Miss Thompson, number 4.
No,
No. Were there an equal number of pets sold at both stores in any one month? The answer is no. Yeah. And Miss Bain, the last one.
Animal Avenue sold the most.
Which store sold more pets in May?
Oh, sorry. I read it wrong. I thought it asked which store sold more pets. Sorry, I didn't see in May. In May,
Mm-hmm.
what it called? Pet Town.
Okay, Pet Town. Right. Okay. All right. So again, you could see that it's fairly easy to read, and that's one of the advantages of displaying the information in the line or the bar graph. Okay. So it's just a matter of, you know, just looking at the two axes, the horizontal and the vertical, to see what information is presented, and then making sure to follow the scale. So in this particular scale for number of pets sold, we are going up in units of 1. So every square represents 1. Every line represents 1. So we didn't have to read in between lines yet because we can't have half a pet. So this one was fairly straightforward. All right, so the third form of graphical representation of is these that we're going to look at is the circle graph. We have other forms of graphical representation, but we're only looking at 3: the line, the bar, and the circle. They have scatter graphs and other forms of graph, but we're only focusing on those 3. All right, so in this case, we have the pie chart. Now the pie chart is useful when you have like a whole that you want to actually show parts of. So we're looking at, in this case, we're looking at diapers, different brands of diapers. And it's really, we have 4 categories here. And so we just want to show how the sales of the 4 categories of the one type of item we're looking at. Now, of course, this could be represented using a bar chart. I'm not sure about a line graph because you're not looking at any trends over time. So the line graph is more for trends over time. But in the case of this could be represented as a bar graph because you could show how much for each of the categories. A bar could represent each of those categories. And in the case of the circle graph, like I said, it's usually used when you're looking at one particular item that you're going to split up into different parts. So we're looking at diapers, and we say here Pampers, the sales, 32% of the sales was Pampers brand, 24% was the Huggies brand, 20% was Love's, and the others was 24%. All right. Now, how do we decide how to split up this circle? Now, you know, at the center of the circle, the total amount of degrees is how much? Hmm? Anybody remember that from the school days? How many degrees all around at the center of the circle?
360.
360 degrees. So basically what we are doing then is we are splitting up the circle into fractions of 360 degrees. So at the bottom here, you will see the working as to how that is done. So because Pampas is 32%, then you would have to find 32% of 360 to work out the angle size for the Pampas brand. So when they find 32%, of course, 32% is equal to 0.32. So you would multiply 0.32 times 360. And in this case, it gives you 115.2 degrees. But of course, if you're using a protractor to measure that, you probably would have to just do it at 115 because you won't be able to do 0.2 on the protractor. Now, we're not actually going to be drawing circle graphs for this course, but what we should know how to work out the angle sizes. So that's the basic thing we should be able to do, work out the angle sizes for each sector. So each of these here is called a sector. So that's the sector for Pampers, that's the sector for Loves, it's the sector for Other, and the sector for Huggies. So the sector for Pampers, that should be 115.2 degrees if you measure that using your protractor. And so we do the same thing for the rest. For Huggies, it would be 24%, which would be 0.24. So you find 0.24 times 360 degrees, and that works out to 86.4 degrees. So on your protractor, when you're measuring, you would find that angle size, which would be 86.4. Again, you probably would have to do it at 86 because you won't be able to get 0.4, 86.4 degrees. All right. And the other was the same amount, 24%. So it would be the same working for that, which would give you another 86.4. So this one should also be 86.4 degrees. And then the last one, which was the Loves, was 20%. And of course, 20% is equal to 0.2. So you'd find 0.2 times 360, which gives you 72 degrees. So if you were measuring it with your protractor, you'd measure 72 degrees. Well, after you measure the other three, and there's only one left, the one that's left over should actually be 72, but you could always check it to make sure, 72 degrees. And when you add all four together, what should you get? If you add,
360.
you should get back
360.
right? Because you're actually dividing the 360 into 4 parts. So once you do your calculations correct, your 4 angles should add up to 360, or whatever amount of parts you divided up into, all together should add up to 360. So with the pie chart, again, it gives you could readily see which one have the biggest share. You could see which ones have the smaller share for sales in this case. And so that's a more presentable form to display information to make it more visually appealing. So again, like I said, we're not actually drawing the circle graph, but you should be able to know how the angles are worked out and to answer some basic questions from looking at the chart. So I'm going to ask you to look at this one here. This is a circle graph. So it says the following circle graph is a suggested budget for Ron Rai and his family for a month. Ron would like you to calculate the percent to the 100th for each part of the circle graph, along with the appropriate number of degrees. Okay. So how many parts are we looking at here?
Six.
6. So we're going to start off, let's start off with mortgage. Then we have taxes. Then we have insurance. Then we have miscellaneous. We have food. And then we have loan / repairs. Okay. All right. So which of those take up about a quarter of his budget?
Mortgage.
Anybody? Mortgage, yeah. If you look at the pie chart, you could see mortgage looks like it's just about a quarter. Can you say from there which of the items took up the least amount of the budget?
Maybe miscellaneous or
Mm,
taxes. I don't know.
you should be able to tell you because they actually give you the amount,
Insurance. Oh, the
Insurance.
insurance. Okay.
right? So if they didn't give you the insurance, if they didn't tell you the amounts, then you could just look at the size of the sector. Okay, but sometimes it's a little hard because they're kind of close in size. So because we actually have the amount, we can say definitely insurance, but miscellaneous kind of almost want to look smaller. So it depends
It
on,
does. That's why I said miscellaneous. It looks smaller, but
yeah,
the
yeah,
figure shows it's
yeah.
smaller. So,
So oftentimes then you look to see if any figure is given to you and use the figure, because if it's not drawn to scale, sometimes it could be a little misleading. All right. So now, how much money are we looking at here for this person? What is his total income?
$2,205.
2,000, how much?
205.
2,205.
Yeah.
Are we all, anybody else got that? I only heard one answer. Are we all in agreement?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yes. Okay. So his total budget then is 2,205. So if you want to find what percentage, say, mortgage takes up, how would we work that out?
We would put the 550 over the total sum and multiply it by 360.
Well, right now we're looking at the first thing they want you to do is look at the percentage.
So
Then
that'll
we
be
could look at,
so be
how
times
much?
100.
Okay. All right. So let's do that and tell me what you get.
24.94%.
Okay. 24.94%. Okay, so that's almost a quarter, yeah. And so now if we know that that's the percentage that mortgage takes up, so how would we find out the angle size for that?
24.94 times 360.
Okay, so you're gonna multiply the 0.2494 times 360 and tell me what you get for that angle. Just give it to the nearest degree, the nearest whole number.
89.
89 degrees. Okay. All right. All right. So I want you to finish off the other 5 areas. Work out the percentage and the angle size for each.
How do you find the ankle size?
You multiply the percentage times the
360?
times 360.
Okay.
Okie doke. All right, so let's look at the rest. So, Ms. Bain, what you have for taxes? Give me the percentage and the angle.
I got 55%.
The
Oh,
percent
okay.
first,
So
then
I did, you want me to give you my stats?
for taxes, yeah.
Okay, so I
Mhm.
did 340 divided by 2205 times 100. I got
Mhm,
10.41.
mhm,
Then I multiplied that by 360
mhm.
and it gave me 55 degrees. Sorry, I mistakenly said percent, 55 degrees.
Okay. So let me just double check something there. Let me see, calculate. You said for taxes was 340 divided by 2205. Okay, 15 point 100, 15.4, 15.4. What you got?
I have 15.41.
41 now. I mean, you're close, but there's a 9 after the
Oh, 42. Sorry, that should have been 14. Okay.
42. Okay, 360. Okay, and that gives you 50, actually
56.
56 when you round up because of 5.
Yeah, 56. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you. That was Miss Bain. Okay, Miss Thompson, what did you got for insurance?
For insurance, it was, okay, 240 divided by 2205
Mm-hmm.
times 100, and that would be 10.88%.
Mm-hmm. All right.
And you times 10.88% by 360, and that would be 39 degrees.
All right. Thank you. Okay, Miss Knowles, what you got for miscellaneous?
13.15% and 47 degrees.
Okay, thank you. Miss Heald, what you got for food?
I got 18.59%,
Mm-hmm.
67 degrees.
60. Okay, thank you. Mr. Butler, what you got for loan and repairs?
Loan is 17. 17%, 17.00. And the degrees is, hold on to it.
What's the angle size?
Again, something different. Because when he,
What you got?
like 6,000 something, but I know that ain't right.
Oh,
Wait.
because remember you have to change that percent into a decimal.
Okay, right. So I got 61.2
Okay.
degrees.
That'll be 61. Okay. Now the percentage that actually should be 17.01 because as 6 comes after the second 0. So if you round that up, it could be 17.01. I mean, 17.00 is close, but the
Right.
17.01 would be more accurate because they ask you to do it to the nearest 100. So the 6 comes after the 100 place, so you'd round that up to 17.01 percent, which would be 61 degrees. Now, if you add up all those, somebody's we're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think you may end up getting 359, and that's because we were rounding off. So you actually should get 360, but sometimes depending on rounding, you may get a degree less or sometimes a degree more than 360, but you should know that you should be getting something very close to 360, if not 360. Now, if you get 340 or 400 degrees, then you know you did something definitely wrong somewhere. Your total for all the sectors should add up to just about 360. But like I said, it could be off by 1 degree, 2 degree-ish maybe, but no more than 2 degrees plus or minus. So you shouldn't get anything less than 358 or anything more than 362. Okay. Generally, it should be between 359 to 361, somewhere there, if you did your calculations correctly. All right. All right. So basically then with the pie chart, the circle graph, all we should be able to do for this course, we should be able to answer basic questions from the chart, look and see which item takes up the most, which item takes up the least, which item, say, roughly takes up a quarter, which item takes up roughly a half. You should be able to work out the percentage for each section or the angle size for each section. Okay, so those are the basic things you should be able to do with your circle graph or pie chart. All right, so that is essentially, I think we have one more thing to do, and that's the measure of dispersion. Okay, so we're looking at measures of central tendency, which is mean, mode, median. So with the measure of dispersion, we just are actually trying to find what is the difference between the highest and the lowest value of a set of data. And the easiest one is the range. Okay, so range is equal to highest value minus lowest value. So it's a simple calculation just to get a sense of how your scores are spread out. Now, there are other measures of dispersion. The other more popular one is what we call standard deviation, which is in your textbook, but we'll not be looking at it for this course. So you should be able to work out the range, and that's it. We're not going to look at the standard deviation for this course. Okay. So if you're doing your review, you will see it there, but you don't need to look over that. All right. So for your homework, you have page A84, and the questions are listed: 1B, 3B, 4, 5B, 6, 7, 8, and 11. And then for page A85, you have question 1, and question 1 is you have to do up a frequency table, but once you finish your frequency table, I want you to do the mean, mode, and median from that. And then we have an additional question there to do. It tells you that this person works at the jewelry store and she counts the precious stones, and the record of the count is shown in the table below. So what you're going to do is calculate the angle size for a pie chart to represent the data. So all we're doing is working out the angle size, and that's it. We're not drawing the pie chart. So that's your homework. So the questions for page A84 are here. So it's not all of them you're doing. I have the numbers there, 1B, 3B, and so on. So you just look for the question and answer it. For page A85, this is the question. Okay. And then these are your answers for chapter 22. That's page A84 answers, A85 answer, and then the answer for the calculations. Okay. All right. So now this sheet here, which is going to be sent to you in for the lesson today. I have a revision guide. So basically, it's basically all of what we would have covered in the course so far, but I just want to itemize them for you so you could see which topic, which chapter, and the various objectives that you should be able to complete, and then any particular notes are on the side here. There's 2 pages listing the different things that we would have done. So for today, we did chapter 22. So these are the things you should be able to do. Organize raw data using tally frequency table. We just did that. Interpret and calculate angle sizes for pie charts. Identify and calculate mode, mean, median. Obtain the median, mode, and mean from data presented in a table. Okay. So for each chapter, I kind of break down the key things that you should be able to do. And so as you do your review, you can just make sure you are able to complete. Now, all of these, if you look at the tests that you did, you got 4 tests, 2 midterms. You will find examples of all of these objectives in those 4 tests and 2 midterms. The only thing that you wouldn't find anything on is what we did today, because that you know, we didn't do a test on that, but from what we did today, plus your homework, and you got the answers for the homework. So once you finish the homework, you could check it yourself to see if you got the answers that's there. If you have any issues, then you could always message me and I could assist you. But if you didn't do no other homework, please make sure to do this one. I noticed most of you did not do much of the homework. The persons who did all the homework, I can say I've been doing the best so far. I'm not saying that if you didn't do the homework, you won't pass. You can pass, but the persons who did all the homework have been, you know, keeping up with very good grades. So the practice is very helpful. So if you didn't do any other homework, please make sure to do this one, because I won't, you won't get a test on this to see how well you're doing. So this will be your way of making sure that you know, if you get a sense, if you understand this. And these questions, especially the statistics one, they carry a bit of weight in terms of amount of marks. So if you understand how to do them, it will be helpful to you overall in your final exam. Okay, so we want to finish off by looking at the test. I already sent the test to you. You should have seen that email come through at 10:30. And at 11:30, I am going to send this PowerPoint along with makeup tests, midterm 2B. Midterm 2B, what instructions did I give with that now? That one you're supposed to, let me see if I could find the email. No. Yeah. Okay. So midterm, okay. All right, so with the with midterm 2B, you are supposed to, you don't have to do it, but if you did choose to do it, we'll average the score you got from 2B with the score you got from the test that you did last Saturday. Now, I don't want you to take a picture of it and send it to me. I want you to print the exam, write on the printed copy, scan the printed copy. I give you till Wednesday of this coming week. Scan the printed copy, the completed copy, and send it back to me by Wednesday. So I give you enough time to print it, do the questions, scan it back, and send it. Because when you take pictures, it often is very grainy, and when I try to enlarge it so I could mark it, it's kind of difficult to do. And so we end up with a lot of dark pages. So I prefer if you scan it and send it back to me by Wednesday, if you choose to do it. Okay. So that should be coming to you at 11:30, and you can go from there. So I already sent you the test and also I think I sent the PowerPoint as well. Let me double check here to see if it went through. Midterm sent. Okay, yeah. So all of those went through at 10:30. So it's just the test 2B that should be coming to you in another 15 minutes. All right, so I want to go through this now. And let's see, test midterm 2. All right, so the first question on that is number 2. All right, so we're looking at calculating. This one, it has to do with salaries and wages. So for number 1, I think most of you got it. 1 or 2 persons had some issues with it, but most persons got it correct. The total number of hours is 46.5. When you add up the total number of hours. So only 40 hours is regular. So 40 times 15 gives you $600 would be the regular pay. And then the other 6.5 would be overtime. So 6.5. And overtime is time and a half. So you do time and a half times 15. And that gives you $146.25. So altogether, your gross pay should be $746.25. Okay, so that's it for number 1. Number 2, write simple interest note or simple discount note next to each of the following statements. All right. All right, so interest is deducted in advance. That's your simple discount note. Okay. Maturity equal face value plus interest. That's your simple interest note. The effective rate is higher. That's your discount note. Also called non-interest bearing discount. In your book, they have it as that. Borrower receives the face value. That's your simple interest note. Any questions there so far with 1 and 2? Any questions? Yes, no?
No.
No, okay, thank you. So I'm gonna move on now to the next section then. 3, 4, and 5. Okay, so now, on April 10th, Joe Brown accepted a $40,000 promissory note for goods bought by Mary Williams. Terms of the note were 5% for 170 days. On June 10th, Joe could no longer wait for the money and discounted the note at Providence Bank at 2%. So assuming ordinary interest, you have to work out Joe's interest and maturity value. So 40,000, 5%, and it was supposed to be for 170 days, and it's ordinary interest, so that's times 170 over 360. So that's going to give you $944.44. So that's the interest for 2 points, and your maturity value for the other point, which would be 3 for this part of the question. So you're going to add that to your 40,000. So that would be 40,944.44. That's the maturity value. Okay. The discount period, we're going from April 10th to June 10th. So June 10th is 161. Sorry, it's June 10th, 161. April 10th is 100. When you subtract, you get 61. That's just a part of it. The actual note was for 170 days. So you kept it for 61 days. So the bank is going to keep it for the remainder of the time, which is 109. So the discount period is 109 days, 109 days. So that's for 2 points. If you only got 61, you get 1 point for that, because that's only how long the person held the note for, but the discount period is how long the bank is going to hold it for. So you have to subtract that 61 from 170 to get that. So the bank discount now, you're going to use the maturity value, that's 40944, times the bank discount rate, which is 2%, times the amount of time the bank is going to hold it for, which is 109 over 360. And so that works out to $247.94. Okay, and then the proceeds will be what the person gets. So you take away that $247.94 from the 40,000, the maturity value, 4944.44 minus 247.94. And so that gives us 40,696.50. That's the proceeds. Okay, the next one, we're looking at Sunbank loan Jennifer Clark $18,000 to open a hair salon. After 6 years, Jennifer will repay the bank with 8% interest compounded quarterly. How much is due to Sunbank at the end of 6 years? 6 years from now, you're looking at future value. Okay, So you're going to look at the number of periods, would be 6 years quarterly, that's 6 times 4 equal 24. The rate per period would be equal to 8%, is 8%, divided by 4 equals 2%. The table factor is equal to 1.6084. And so the future value for this would be 18,000 times the 1.6084, which is equal to $28,951.20. In the next one, Sharon Pinder wants to attend State University. She will need $60,000 4 years from today. Assume Sharon Banks pays 6% interest compounded semi-annually. What must Sharon deposit today so she will have that in 4 years? So that is, we want to know the present value. How much she must invest today to get that in 4 years' time. So we're going to use the same procedure. We need to find a number of periods, which in this case is 4 years, semi-annual, twice a year. So that's 4 times 2 equals 8. And the rate per period would be equal to, the yearly rate is 6% divided by 2, because it's semi-annual, that would be 3%. So the present value table, you look for the table factor there. So that would be equal to 0.7894. So the present value that you need is the 60,000. Sorry, 60 times 0.7894, which gives you $47,364. Okay, any questions with that page? Mr. Butler, you straight with that page?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right, so I could move on then. Okay, I'm not so sure why this page is causing a problem for some persons. I thought it was fairly straightforward, I don't know. But a number of you didn't seem to do this section too well. So question for number 6, it says, listed below is a Bridgestone stock quotation. So this data is shown in the table. Complete the following using information in the stock quotation above. It says how many times the earnings per share is how many times the earnings per share the stock is selling for. So your PE is your price earning ratio. So that should be 16. This one says is the number of shares traded on the day. That's your volume. And you have to add 2 zeros to that. So it should be 3080000. 30800, which is what there, plus another 2000. All right, and you could put your comma in after that. That's 3,080,000 trades for that day. C says is the difference between the highest and the lowest. Okay, so the highest was 2314. The lowest was 317. So the difference, you subtract, and you should get $19.97. D says, is the dividend amount a shareholder with 500 shares would receive? So the dividend amount is 7 cents. 7 cents. So if you have 500 shares, it would be 500 times 7 cents. 500 times 7 cents is equal to $35. And then the last part of that says yesterday's closing price. So the closing price is where it has last. So the last was $13. So that today's closing price, last means today's closing price. In this case, it was $13.08. But to find out what yesterday was, we have to look at the change. So the change is 11 cents plus 11 cents. So that means it went up 11 cents. So if you want to find out what it was yesterday, you have to subtract 11 cents from $13.08, and you will get $12.97. So once it says plus, if you want to find out yesterday's amount, you have to subtract. If it had said negative 11 cents, then you would add to the last to find out what it was yesterday. Now, number 7 really seemed like that was the killer one for many persons. Number 7A, the year in which the bond matures should be 2014. I see a number of you put 14, but you really should put the full year, 2014, not just 14. B says, is the percent of interest paid on the bond. That's 7.5. I think most people got that part. So this part wasn't too bad, but the C and D seem to have been the problem. So it says, is the amount of interest for one bond for the year. The interest rate is 7.5%, and the bond face value for one bond is $1,000. With bonds, in this chapter that we looked at with bonds, they were using units of 1,000. So if I say one bond, we're looking at a bond value of $1,000, and if the interest rate is 7.5%, then you have to find 7.5% of 1,000, so it'll be 1,000 times 0.075. Okay, 0.075. Fix that. Okay, when you multiply that, you should get $75. Okay, that's the interest for the bond for a year. 7%, 7.5% of 1,000. Now, the D says is the amount one bond traded for on this day. So the close was this, 100.25%. So in this chapter, all these figures, well, most of these figures here are percentage. So the close is 100.25%. So if so it's 100.25% is the close, and the face value of a bond is $1,000. If you want to find out how much the bond was sold for at the end of the day, then you have to find 100.25% of 1,000. That would be 1.0025 times 1,000, and that would be $1,002.50. 1002.50. That's it for number 7. Now, number 8. Okay, the shares net asset value is 12.04. The abbreviated thing is EUGR. The change in the was negative 0.06. The percentage year to date was plus 8.2. Okay, Ms. Bain, any questions with this page? Straight so far? Ms. Bain, are you there? Oh, she isn't here. Oh, yes, she is. Ms. Bain? Ms. Knowles, any questions with this page? Hold on, I'm talking to myself. Ms. Hill, are you there?
He's still there.
Am I?
Okay,
I'm still there.
okay, all right. So any questions with the page? No, no questions so far with this page?
No, I
Okay, all right.
I'm
I just,
still here as well.
okay, all right. I was just checking because, you know, I don't want to move on if you have a question. Okay, so I could move on then to the next page. All right, so question number 9. All right, so this person bought 300 shares of USA Air stock at 61.22 per share. A year later, she sold them for $72.43, and they paid dividends of 120 during the year. And then there was a commission of 3% from the stockbroker, and you have to calculate the gain on the investment. So you're going to start off by looking to see how much she paid for them. So that's 300 times 61.22, which gives you 18,366. And then she had to pay 3%. So you're gonna have to find zero. Well, okay. I did the short method, which would be 1.03 times the 18366, which gives you 18916.98. Now, you didn't have to do it this way. You could have found 3% of the 18,366 and then add it to the 18,366, which would give you the same answer here. All right. So that's the first step. So that's how much she paid. Then later on, she sold them for $72.43. So you're going to say 300 times 72.43, and that gives you 21,729. Now, because she had to pay a commission of 3%, then the shortcut would just be to say 0.97 times the 21,729, and that gives you 21,077.13. Oops. Okay, so that's taking out the 3%. So if you wanted to, you could have just found 3% of the 21,729 and subtracted from the 21,729, and you should get the same result, 21,077.13. Okay, so you have to take out the commission for the stockbroker. So that's the second part. And then you have to find the difference between the two. So you would say 21,077.13 minus what you paid, 18,916.98. And that gives me How much does that gives us now? 2,160 and 15 cents. And then we have to put the dividends. So she got 300 shares and the dividends is 120. So that ends up being $360 for dividends. So you add that to this 360. So the total earnings would be $2,520.15. Okay, that's it for that question, for your 7 points. Okay, for number 10A, how much? Okay, Jack Peterson bought a home for $220,000. He puts down $20,000, obtains a mortgage at 7.5% for 20 years. So how much did he borrow from the bank? It would be 220,000 minus 20,000, which gives you 200,000. That's how much he borrowed. Now the monthly payment, you have to look at the table factor in the table to find out how much it would be for 7.5% for 20 years. That would give you a table factor 8.06. And when you divide the 200,000 by 1,000 to use the table, you get 200. So you say 200 times 8.06 gives you 1,612. So that's the monthly payment. And if you want to find the total interest cost, then you're going to have to say now, I pay 1,612 per month for 12 months for 20 years. So 1,612, 12 months, 20 years gives me a total of $386,880. But I only borrowed 200,000 from the bank. So my interest then would be that 386,880 minus the 200,000, which is equal to 186,880. That's the total interest. And then the last part of that asks you to find out how much is the cost of interest for the first payment. So the first payment, you're going to say 200,000 is what you borrowed. That's how much you owe for the first payment. And your interest rate is 0.075, 7.5% for the first month. And that works out to 1,250. So the first month interest is 1,250. And we didn't ask you what the principal reduction was, but if the question asks you for the principal reduction, what would you do? Anybody want to answer that? What would you do to find the principal reduction for the first month? Anybody could answer, or I have to call a name.
Subtract the 1,250 from the monthly payment.
Okay. So you would subtract the 1,250 from the 1,612. Okay. Because the question only asks you for the cost of interest, you will stop right there. You just leave it at 1250. That 1250 is the interest payment. But if I want to find out how much was going towards the principal to reduce your balance, then I would subtract that 1250 from the 1612, and that will tell you how much your principal will go down by. Okay, any questions with that page?
No,
No?
sir.
Okay, so we're gonna move on to the next page then. I thought this was the easiest page for 10 points, but I guess some persons forgot a couple things. So the first thing you have to do is, for your first point, is to put up your heading. So this is Monroe Company. Monroe Company. And we have balance sheet. And the date was the 31st December 2013. So that's your first point there. Then the next thing, you have to split up this thing into assets. And then you have your liabilities. Liabilities. And then your owner's equity or capital. Now we look at two categories of assets and liabilities: long-term, short-term. So I won't penalize you if you didn't organize it in long-term, short-term, but you know, if you do further accounts, that's what is the practice. You put the short-term, then the long-term. So we have cash at 15,750. Accounts receivable, I shorten it, accounts receivable, 18,000. Prepaid advertising, at 54,000. And then your inventory, merch inventory, 18,750. So those will be your short term. And then your long term would be your building, which is 120,000, and your land, which is 90,000. So altogether, you're looking at a total of 316,500. Okay. Then with the liabilities, you have salaries payable, which was 22,500. Then you have accounts payable, which was 132,000. And those would be kind of short term. And then the one that definitely is long term would be your mortgage payable. And that is 99,000. 99. And so when you add up that portion all together, you're getting 253,500. And then the owner's equity, that's Monroe Okay, H Monroe. Capital is equal to $63,000. And so that also adds up to the same as the other side, 316,500. So if your balance sheet doesn't balance, it means you did something wrong. I know I saw one or two persons where it didn't balance. So that should be a clue to you that you entered something in the wrong place. I guess if you press for time, you won't be able to correct it, but you know, the two sides should balance if everything was entered in the correct section. And that's it for your 10 points. Any questions? Nope. All right. So we're gonna move on then. Okay, the last page. All right. Now in this one, 2007, 2006. So you're gonna subtract 2006 from 2007. So this one should be negative 1700. And as a result, this should be negative 16.67%. Now, some of you didn't put the negative, so you wouldn't be able to get the full 2 points for that. You would just get 1 point. If you did the correct calculation, but have the wrong sign, then you would just get 1 point instead of 2. But this one, oops, it's 1060, and that's positive, and it's 1.95%. The next one is 168, 31.58%. And then the last one was negative also. I think that's minus negative 3550. And the percentage is negative 23.20. Okay, the last question. Your start year would be outright 100%. Everything is going to be based on that year, your base year, which is 2005. It does tell you here that the base year is 2005. So your base year is always going to be 100%. And then everything else would be in relation to that base year. So for 2006, it would be 70,000 over the 60,000 times 100. And that should give you 117%, 117%. For the next go for 2007, it should be the 25,000 over the 60,000, which is your base year, times 100, and that gives you 42%. And then the last one, of course, would be 50,000 over the 60,000 times 100, which gives you 83%. Okay. So that was it for that test. So if you're not satisfied with what you got, I have all the working here. The midterm 2B is the same test, but with different scenarios, but it's the same exact layout. So if you understand what you're doing here from what we just did, there's no reason why you shouldn't get 100% on that makeup. Plus you have what 72 hours to finish it in. So you can do 2 pages each day. Make sure you do it correct. and make sure you get 100%. You get 100%, that would average is whatever you got to bring your score up. Okay. I shouldn't see anybody getting less than 100 on that second makeup midterm 2B. Okay. So I don't know if you have any questions, any concerns? Any concerns about your final exam for next week? All of you have a scientific calculator because you can't use your phone in the exam. So you need a
Could you
scientific.
make sure?
Repeat that.
Oh, I was asking, could you make sure that today's lecture be uploaded up to YouTube as soon as possible so we
Well,
can like reference it again?
I don't have no, I don't deal with that. You'd have to check with Miguel. I only
Okay.
yeah, I don't have anything to do with that. Miguel is the one who set up all of the putting up on YouTube and so on. Actually, I've never even seen it on YouTube. I need to go and look at it to see what I sound like. I have to check it out. I haven't looked at it at all. Yeah, but he handles that.
Yeah,
So I
he
just do
always
that.
behind.
Okay. You have to
So-
call him.
I'll go. Let's like bring my name on it to make sure
Yeah.
like this gets up. So you reference.
Yeah, so you could call him on that. Okay, well, boy, the time has come. At the beginning, it seemed like it was going to be very long, but it's over. And I hope all of you do what you need to do to make sure you do okay or pass the final. The final is 60% of the overall. And so, once you prepare yourself properly, you shouldn't have a problem. Like I said, everything that we did in the 4 tests, 1, 2, 3, 4, plus the 2 midterms, basically, that's what we're looking at in the final. I also gave you that revision sheet there that you could look over the various topics, and you could use your textbook also if you to review. I know some of you don't have it, but I think you have all the PowerPoints that for the lessons, so you should be able to use those. And don't wait until Friday night to prepare yourself. You have a week, so try to space it out so that you can, look at maybe two lessons each day or something to practice, and at least look over some of the tests. Don't just look over it, but do it. Even if you have to probably reprint the blank one and redo them without looking at what you did, or looking at, and then you go back and correct. The math is a thing where you have to practice it. It's not something that you study. I mean, certain things you have to study, like certain definitions, like today, you need to definitely know the difference between mean, mode, and median. But in terms of working out things, you have to actually do it. Okay? So you have, I would have emailed you stuff, so you could just print a blank copy of it and redo it to make sure you understand how to do it. And then once you redo it, you could compare it with what you did before and see where you went wrong and make your corrections. Okay. All right. So I wish you all the best and be ready for next week. I think you should start at 9 o'clock next week. 9 to 12 is 3 hours. And so if you have any question that you just need further explanation on, you could send me a message and I will try to get back to you with any explanation that should be helpful. All right. So that's it for me, unless you have some other questions or concern. All the best.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Mr. Butler? You good, Mr. Butler?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay. What about Miss Heald?
Yeah, so
Okay, Ms. Knowles?
Yes.
Okay, you're good.
Yes, sir.
So far. Okay, Mr. Bain? Bain, you still there? Okay. All right, well, compliments of the season, and next week, Saturday, you be on time, and make sure you prepare yourself early for your test. Don't wait till Friday night. Okay? And those who plan to do the makeup, please have it ready so that Wednesday I can get that from you to average what you got for the first one. All right, bye-bye. We'll talk again. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay then.
Good day.
Okay then.